Well, it's a delight to see everyone here, and especially at TED and the Ted Rogers School of Management. It's great. I feel like I'm having to be a bit of the Steve Jobs in my normal routine, and I'll do my best at doing that. And let me begin by putting up a quote. And this quote doesn't matter if you're in Toronto or anywhere in the world. It was a quote that I used in my installation speech. And in the way I interpret it is that if you have really big, gutsy ideas, they have a chance of happening. But smaller ideas normally get lost. So what I want to begin with is to just show you how we have taken some big ideas and tried to make them come to life. But what I'm really trying to say is for everyone to always think beyond what is possible and to stretch yourself to the point that when someone says, oh, you can't do that, that's the invitation to prove them wrong. So let me begin of how we have tried to do that at Ryerson University. So where are we today? Now, almost everyone in this audience is either too young to recognize that, or if they recognize it, they were probably passing that location when they were about 8 years old. Well, that location is the busiest intersection in Canada. That's Yonge and Dundas in the 1980s. We were having trouble to find even a photo of Yonge and Dundas in the 1980s, and this came actually from a movie. But what is really interesting is to notice what was happening at Yonge and Dundas in the 1980s. They were selling watches, like trinkets, at the corner. So now fast forward from 1980 to 2010 and take a look at that same corner, same viewpoint. That's Yonge and Dundas 2010. Now, how in the world do you get from that to that? Well, at that time, there was someone who had both vision, courage, and I'm sure if someone asked Kyle Ray if he was told, you can't do it, he would have said, just watch me. So what you have is a transformation of Yonge Dundas. Now, how does Ryerson play into this? Well, if you're a student at Ryerson, you might recognize some of your classrooms in the back. What we are able to do is help the development of that center by giving away air rights above a garage. And in return, we got to use 12 of the AMC theaters for classrooms from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So you could say, that is unbelievable. What a deal. You sit there and you give someone a bunch of air above a building, and in return, what do you get? You get 12 classrooms for your students to use, where the theaters were built as much as classrooms as they were theaters. And if you were in a suburban campus or in a campus far away from movie theaters, you would say, what an advantage a Ryerson has that we don't have. And what I want to say to you is, absolutely. But absolutely do we have disadvantages that I'll show you, but the key of it is that you have to take advantages of the opportunities that you're given, because there are going to be opportunities that others would have that you don't have, and you got to balance. So you got to look at what you have and make the best of it. And one of the things that you have when you're at the most urban university in the country is that you have with it the opportunity to partner with the private sector. And you have the opportunity to make things happen with the private sector that others will not. So, good example. Let me take you again on the city building side of it. This was Gould and Church, not maybe 100 yards or 150 meters from the university today. And at that corner, the university built its engineering building. Now, why am I particularly showing you this picture? It is one of our values when we build the university is to recognize that as we build the university, we are building the city. And when I say that, what I mean is that we have to be concerned about design excellence. If you are in a campus that is in the middle of nowhere and you build ugly, then the only people that are punished by your ugly building are the people on your campus. If Ryerson builds ugly, 28 million people are punished by our ugly building, because that's the number of people that walk in front of Ryerson every single year because of where we're located. So when we took our master plan to the board, and I'm pleased to welcome our chair of our board, Phyllis Yaffe, here today, the board said one of the values that we had to do is recognize as we build, we're building for the city. And this is part of the city building ideas we have. So let me move on. How many people recognize that? Well, if you don't, you're sitting on top of it right now. That used to be the garage at the Eaton Center not that long ago. And the partner in this was really Cadillac Fairview. They were the developers in this. And Cadillac Fairview, what they said was, let's see if we could do something better for our city than that. And of course, you recognize that. That's the Ted Rogers School of Management sitting in TEDx. But how did that come available? You know what's below this. Below this is Best Buy and Canadian Tire. So we transformed the whole intersection of Dundas and Bay in a partnership through Cadillac Fairview with two private sectors. So when you go back, that parking lot is now the sandwich between our business school, which is on the top floors, Best Buy, Canadian Tire on the lower floors, and in between is the parking. Again, very, very innovative ways. We could not have afforded this on our own, and the private sector could not have afforded it on their own. We had to work together to bring it off. Another good example. Now, we're talking about a street that runs through the city. For 10 years, if not longer, people said, you can't close a city street. You got cars, you got trucks, you can never close a city street. That's the closed city street. So how did that come about? That came about because the university said we are the city builder, and the reciprocation of that was that the city said we are the university builder. And they closed that street. What is extremely interesting on that is that the second element of our master plan that was approved by the board was a part that came from the students. And it simply said in the simplest way that in a world where you have cars and you have people, around our campus, people have to come before automobiles. And what that meant was that public transportation, bike lanes, places to put your bike in inclement weather, places to walk, and a bit more freedom from the automobile was going to be one of the values. And that value is now expressed on this street. But it's not surprising that when this street closed, other communities, including our University of Toronto colleagues, had a street closed, and there are many streets that want to close because of it. So let me keep on going. What do we have in progress? You recognize that building. That was, do you know what that was originally? O'Keefe Brewery. That was a brewery that went to Image Arts that is now going to be that building. That building is on the same street that I just said that is closed, and that building is going to be a new gallery. And what is that building going to hold? Beyond the great classes in Image Arts of the university, it is going to hold a collection of photographs where the university has got the largest cultural gift ever given to a university in Canada. And I just throw up some to give you a variety. These are all the originals that we have. Originals of John Kennedy, originals of Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, the Second World War, the Beatles, and these are just categories of them. 300,000 photographs are going to be housed in that gallery. This street will become a new cultural street of the City of Toronto. Now, what is unbelievable about this photographic collection is that you could, almost any theme that is of the 20th century, put together an event that crosses not only with us, but it could cross with the Toronto Film Festival or other aspects of our culture and bring to Toronto some of the greatest exhibits that they will ever see. But the beauty of this is this. That gallery is on the street that's closed that now has those types of photographs and bring it to the people of Toronto. Now you know that site. Now this was an interesting one because when I first came to the university, I had never planned it this way, but I went out on the street and I was photographed on day one of saying I wanted to be on Yonge Street, and someone said, "Where on Yonge Street?" And I said, "How about here, where you see now?" "Oh, you cannot do that. That's impossible. It's owned, it's got heritage, it's got all the things that we're on." And what I did, to be quite candid, I kept on saying, I want to be there. And anytime someone asked me, "Where do you want your library?" I'd say, "I want it on Yonge Street." And what happened was that the press thought this was just an interesting, goofy guy that was just going to keep on saying that he wanted to be on Yonge Street. Well, you know, we're on Yonge Street. Now, remember I told you that you get great advantages when you can build, you can give air rights for AMC theaters. There's downside. That little bit of property cost us $23 million. So on the one hand, you get the advantages of being on downtown through like an AMC deal, but you sure have disadvantages because property is so expensive. And that's why I said, when you're trying to do great things, you gotta use the tools that are given to you to the maximum, because there's going to be things under which are very, very difficult to do, and you need all the momentum that you get by those objects that come for relatively for nothing or because of place. Well, what will be there? We're soon going to find out, but I thought the comment by Christopher Hume captured it wonderfully. What he said was, he's not sure what's going to be there, but Ryerson will never be the same, and neither will the city. And very soon, we're going to show the rest of Toronto and the rest of Canada and the world what will be there. And the architects that are doing it are world class. I mean, the world's best architects are doing that site. And we're all excited to see what will happen at the corner of Gould and Dundas. So what's next? Well, I put this map up just for you to go for a little walk with me. We are now at the corner of where Sam's is. We're going to just take a little walk up to Carlton or to College, and we're going to make a right-hand turn. And of course, what we're going to see is that corner. That corner is the way it looks right now. If I said to you, is that corner in a world-class city? I think you would say no. But also near that corner is Maple Leaf Gardens. Now, you want something that someone said is impossible to do, and one of those ideas that was just too big? This is it. To make it in a very simplest way, the students of the university voted on day one to have their fees increased in order to be able to provide the university with equivalent to $20 million. When the Weston family, the Loblaws company, heard about that, they came, put down $5 million and said, we will raise another $15 million for you. And it's essentially done. When that happened, the federal government came and said, well, if the students are willing to do it, a major corporation and private sector is willing to do it, we're willing to be the third, $60 million, and that building is going to transform the area that I just said. That's the entrance to that building that you will see. That's when you go under the canopy, you're going to walk into that building. If you went up to the first set of stairs, you'd be in basketball and volleyball courts, and then go to the third, and you're into Maple Leaf Gardens brought back again. This is exactly the same rink that the Leafs played on, that is raised to the third floor, below the exact same ceiling. That ceiling, you're going to say, I've never seen it like that. And the truth is, you probably haven't, because it's cleaned. It is nothing more than that. All the elements of Maple Leaf Gardens is going to be kept, including the lighting and the shape of the bowl, everything. All that was impossible. So if we tried to build a $20 million stadium and went after available land, we'd still be talking about it. Do a $60 million building when you had no money, it gets done. And that's why I say, have the big dream. And that will change. Why does it all matter? It all matters because we as a city are in competition with the best cities in the world. This is just a picture of Tokyo. This is a picture of New York City. Now, all of it matters because, as you will hear in another speech, where that gentleman was selling watches, if you would have looked up in the air, you would never have dreamed that what is there is the Ryerson's Digital Media Zone. I'm not going to go into it much other than to say in almost no time, there's 80 inventors, 20 teams, businesses coming, 4 Silicon Valleys are there, and it is now the place that is growing beyond anything that we could have ever imagined. So I will end with where I began, and it is make no little plans. They have no magic to stir the blood and probably will not be realized. Make your plans big, aim high, and work. And I will end with a very, very short story of how everything is strange in your life. In the 1980s, I went down to see Negroponte in the MIT Media Labs. And I was really interested in the MIT Media Labs, not so much of what they were doing, but of the concept of what they were doing. And they sent me, they gave me an address, and they said, if you really want to know about this, here's the address, go visit this person. So I got in a cab, and I kept on driving and driving and driving. It was a $300 cab ride. They thought I was going to take the plane. Who did I visit? It was Richard Berman. He is the head, is the one who started TED. And as it goes around, DMZ is in fact the MIT of the future, started at the corner of Yonge and Dundas by one great idea. Thank you very much.